In a lot of ways, gaming has become more spectacle, where the value isn't the product, it's the visual splendor and narrative significance. And while it's fine to appreciate these titles, I mean, there is a reason they sell millions of copies. Sometimes you just want an enjoyable experience to play with friends. That is ultimately what Abyssus offers. A weird world that offers a variety of tools to fight against endless challenge. Still, given these experiences can be divisive, is it worth checking out or does it miss the mark? Abyssus offers a rather unique approach to narrative. Instead of directly presenting it, or relying on environmental storytelling, most of it is revealed through interactive items. These appear throughout the lobby, and are unlocked by simply playing, well, more accurately, completing challenges. Each expands on the world to make it seem more cohesive, like there is a reason behind these choices, even if it takes 20 runs to learn it. Much better than similar games that rely on collectibles, somewhere you can spend hours trying to get a specific instance to appear. That said, there are interactive items throughout each run. These sometimes offer lore, though many are jokes. They're also rather common, to the point where you may see the same one 2 or 3 times on a run. Speaking of, gameplay is the real attraction here. Before any run, players can select their weapons, skills, and difficulty. There are 9 weapons, each with 3 primary and secondary mods. Said mods change how the gun functions. Some are minor, like different scopes, with others changing an explosive weapon to tracking bullets. Not only do these changes alter the gameplay loop, they cater to different blessings, something I'll get into more later. As for abilities, these are supplemental attacks like turrets or grenades. In all, both options offer a surprising amount of range, at least to the point where each choice feels unique. Skills are passive abilities that persist between runs, things like additional stats or a free revive. A total of 25 can be selected at any given time, so they offer an edge, but you also need to be selective. The only negative with the system is investment. For example, one skill gives a third blessing options, another adds upgrades, additional healing stations, and much more. I don't want to say it's impossible to win without any skills, but the gap is astronomical, to the point where blessing upgrades can easily double or triple your damage throughout a run. They're more foundational things that feel like the choice is there for the truly hardcore community, though I'd rather they were unlocked from the start or disabled via Deep Water Tank. Speaking of, Deep Water Tank acts as a modifier system. There are 34 modifiers, plus one that infinitely increases enemy health and damage. At a glance, modifiers either sound miserable or create certain opportunities. Corrupted Descent is arguably a positive. This adds up to 3 corrupted rooms, meaning enemies gain multiple modifiers in exchange for additional rewards, something that is worth it regardless of difficulty. Other modifiers are less desirable. Submerged Sorrows is perhaps the easiest to understand. Each hit reduces your max health by 3. Considering health is initially set at 200, it doesn't take much to fall behind. Thankfully, it's balanced fairly well. Certain hazards don't count as a hit, even if they do damage, so it isn't like you'll fall in a pit and permanently lose 30 HP. However, other things are not balanced as well. Before getting into the negatives, I want to clarify something and touch on some of the positives. Most of these complaints are centered on higher difficulty runs. Deep Water level 30 alone increases enemy health and damage 4x. At that point, the meta is extremely important, at least if you want to finish in a reasonable amount of time. Normal runs can be completed with anything. One run I purposely made a bad build to see how it would go and won all the same. That said, it took longer to beat my level 30 run, meaning my DPS was less than a fourth. Anyway, all of this comes down to blessings. These make up the core gameplay loop. You see, there are 11 factions that modify the aforementioned primary, secondary, and ability choices. As a result, you can align to 3 per run. After that, each blessing will expand on that power's moveset. The general idea is to play into each attached specialty, like if I'm using a scoped revolver, I might choose barrier. This makes it easier to withstand attacks as I line up my shot. It sounds good on paper, but in practice it varies. In my experience, barrier acts as a low-skill trap. It sounds good if you're not proficient, though in practice it's often safer to eliminate threats faster. At this point, I should preface this by saying this review is based off the PlayStation 5 version. It has version 1.3, which changes a lot, though I was not able to find patch notes at the time of writing. So I might give some controversial takes, as the builds I liked did not seem favorable in the past. Anyway, I found blessings came in 1 of 3 categories: avoid, amazing, or long-term use. Avoid is self-explanatory. These are blessings that have a niche, one that eventually falls off. Amazing are the perks I found most impactful. These are the best choices for dishing out a lot of damage fast. Finally, long-term is something of a weird category. One difficulty modifier is known as bottomless chasm. When enabled, runs less until you fall or give up. This seemingly insignificant difference makes scalable powers more desirable. At least, I think that's why the PC meta was Ice, Gold, and Blood. They deal in percents and ratios which favor endless play, but that isn't to say they don't overlap with amazing choices. Blood, when built correctly, can vastly increase your health. This gives a greater margin of error, something that stats considering health is percent based. Anyway, the point of these blessings creates something of an absolute meta, where experimenting or dealing with bad luck really isn't an option. Something I think hurts a roguelite. These need to be experiences that encourage making do. Without that factor, it encourages homogenization, an element that honestly hurts the gameplay loop. As I progressed through deep water levels, I quickly realized most runs felt the same. There just isn't a lot of level variety, nor was the gameplay loop different. Even when I changed my build, it still felt the same. Success came down to getting the right blessings, coupled with quickly attacking each threat. Just jump a lot, dash to create distance, and then shoot in their general direction. Admittedly, some of this is due to how blessings work. They just enhance fundamental systems. So, if I have lightning, fire, spirit, gold, blood, or whatever, it just changes what happens after I shoot. The only thing that changes the fundamental controls are forges, these being modifiers that alter how weapons or abilities behave. However, even these generally have a meta. In addition to further boosting enemy health and making certain items useful, co-op offers some unique benefits. One of the biggest is helping with objectives, so if you need to defend a point, people can go to multiple spots. Additional targets also mean it's easier to defend each point. For some, I imagine that's going to be huge, as objectives are some of the worst parts. Bosses behave a little different, such as the first one having a new attack. It isn't much, but anything is welcome. The only downside is the same as most online games, having to pay for it. Okay, jokes aside, it's companion quality. Unfortunately, I did not run into any proficient players. Since I don't want to shame anyone, besides myself, I'm just not going to include footage from those attempts. It was the only time I came close to failing with the tidal pressure modifier enabled. Usually 20 minutes is ample time, especially since it only decreases when in combat. To put it into perspective, I did a quick deep water level 30 run for my full run video. I finished the area in 11 minutes, only 5 of which was in combat, meaning I had 15 minutes to spare. In co-op, we were still fighting a boss after 20. Admittedly, the timer was still at 9 minutes, so we could theoretically beat the boss. It just wasn't a good experience. So, expect the experience to vary wildly. Similar to Dark Scrolls, I think Abyssus comes down to the experience. It has flaws, like lack of variety, but it doesn't inhibit it from being enjoyable. Based off the stat page, I successfully completed 17 runs. The average run took me 41 minutes, meaning that's 12 hours. 12 hours of me mostly jumping around using the same items because I found the ever-increasing difficulty fun. Add in certain challenges, plus online play, and I can see this being worth the cost of entry. Thanks for watching. Please consider leaving a like, comment, or subscribe for more content.